Dala Dhawa Jebe Dra Nopar Jebe Kek Tarba Dhan Tam Je Kembe Bardu Chubra Jeba Tam Jege Su Jebe Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dang Ten Tung Yao Dang Dre Nerdru Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Tompara Jai Dala Dhawa Jebe Dra Nopar Jebe Gek Tarba Dhang Tam Je Gembe Bardu Chopara Jeba Tam Jegi Su Jebe Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dhan Den Dung Yao Dang Dre Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Topar Jai Dala Dhawa Jebe Dra Nopar Jebe Kek Tarba Dang Tam Je Kembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Jegi Su Jebe Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dhan Den Dung Yao Dang Dre Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Topar Jai De Je De Sama Gegi Pardu Lunga Yisum Gewa Lako Mashi Pardu Lunga Yisum Gewa Lako Du Dering Ne Sung Te Ne Ma Can Ta Sam Ki Pardu Lunga Yisum Gewa Lako San Je Chodan Sunji Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dhani Kyam Su Chi Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Kin Trola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Sanje Chodan Suki Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dhani Kyam Su Chi Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Kin Trola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Sanje Chodan Suki Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dhani Kyab Su Chi Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Ki Rola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dhan Dewe Gyudan Dempra Gyurji Dung Yao Dang Dung Yao Gi Gyudan Drewa Gyurji Dung Yao Mepe Dewa Dang Me Drewa Gyurji Nering Chadang Nidang Drewe Tanyan La Nabra Gyurji Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dang Dewe Gyudan Dempra Gyurji Dung Yao Dang Dung Yao Gi Gyudan Drewa Gyurji Dung Yao Mepe Dewa Dang Me Drewa Gyurji Niding Chadang Nidang Drewe Tanyan La Nabra Gyurji Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dang Dewe Gyudan Dempra Gyurji Dung Yao Dang Dung Yao Gi Gyudan Drewa Gyurji Dung Yao Mepe Dewa Dang Me Drewa Gyurji Niding Chadang Nidang Drewe Tanyan La Nabra Gyurji. In all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times. Before each of you lions, among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind. By the power of this aspiration to noble deeds, all conquerors appear vividly in my mind. With as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands, I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom are Buddhas, numberless as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma Dhatu as completely filled with conquerors in this way. With infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies, I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors, and praise all of you gone to bliss with the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps, superior incense I offer to you conquerors, with excellent garments and best fragrances and sandalwood powder heap high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings perfectly arranged I offer to you conquerors. These vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you conquerors with the power of conviction in noble deeds, I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors. All the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions, and the heirs of the Buddha's solitary realizers, here still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings. You who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have unobstructedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. All you who are my protectors, please turn the unexcelled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana. Please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. So je buge jujing meto dram rilar alinshin in de gemba de sanje shindu meite bulwa ye drogo namda shinla gewar sho guzun yonzo lame zonamla chinang sansun de shin nigi ju dalu lonju nangsi yongje la Lame chogi ngodu zedu su jaso wadang jujing shakbadang jese yirang kushing sowa ye gewa chungse dagi chi sakba tamche sobe chanche jirango om guru deva dagi nirana mendala prade jaso zemje namge sambadang Loyi jidra jida vara jejung tumon tepaye choki golo kordu so Namo Guru Doje Changwan Tele Naro Dhamma Mita Popatu Jiten Gong Kanten Sunden Sawe La Mesha Saju Lama Yitam Chokyong La Soba Depso Daji Jinju La Gyab Rengin Tome Sam Lingen Rapai Tung Sung Yong La Gyab Some Gyab Doje Chang Pa Jiten Gombo Shabla Dudu Tatu Sangyo Kyole Me Jinji Lo Shi Tu Je Jen Gemun Pasa Ne Gyan Sen Ren De Ru Topra Jinji Lo Hong Or Jin Yu Jin Da Zang Sam Pe Ma Ge Sa Tung Po La Ya Sen Chokyong Wa Dem Ne Pema June Shishu Da Guru Kandu Mambu Goro Geki Jese Ta De Ge Jinji Lo Jishe So Guru Pema Se De O Men Ying Choki Yinki Podane Dosen Sanje Kuki Wani Ran Sen Choko Ngun Don Se Ba Zawe La Me Shabla So Wa De Good morning and good evening to everyone. So, just as a reminder, we have these recordings of our classes. Definitely, everything that has been done so far. Definitely, I know in English, the recordings are available on YouTube. Then also, I believe most of the Spanish and the Chinese is also available whenever we've been able to record and upload them. So Omar, if you can share the link in the chat for the YouTube playlist. So that YouTube channel has other things that I have done, especially during this last couple of years of the pandemic. So that YouTube channel has many things. Yeah. Also, I believe Omar has uploaded Khenchen Rinpoche's Manjushri mantra chant, but this has been uploaded to Khenchen Rinpoche's YouTube channel. So if Omar can share that link as well, for those of you who want to listen to that chant. Khenchen Rinpoche recorded several other chants, which Omar will also be putting on Khenchen Rinpoche's YouTube channel. These recordings were done professionally in Germany some years back, and the people who were involved in that recording very generously allowed us to share this on YouTube, on Rinpoche's YouTube channel. Yeah, so Omar just shared that. So a big thanks to Omar for uploading these and preparing the files and all of the details of that. Takes a lot of work, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Of course, he knows what he's doing, but nonetheless, to be consistently doing it takes discipline. So thank you so much. Just a quick report that yes, the move with Urban Dharma is progressing. We are still hoping to be able to do a small New Year's Eve program in our new space. So we now enter December, and of course December there is also Christmas, and right now Hanukkah to some degree, also affecting our schedule. But hopefully with many people's help, including people who have come from out of town. I see Tracy in Judy's Zoom. Hello, Tracy. Thank you for coming down. Hopefully with all the help, we can get it mostly done. So today's class, therefore, will be shortened because I need to get to the new space no later than 10 my time to be able to open the door and see which volunteers turn up to help us today. So let's look at verse 114. So this section is from verse 114 to 120, which Khenpo Kunpel's outline of Bodhicharyavatara says that from 114 to 120, this is to encourage us to take the place of others, meaning, to imagine being in their position, to take the place of others with enthusiasm, with vigor, with excitement even. So to exchange self for others, one way of looking at to exchange self for others, to take the other person's place, is to understand this as the opposite of jealousy. Jealousy is basically, right, when we see someone else doing good, enjoying, fame and praise and gain and pleasure, we react negatively, we become jealous. They're not really that good. The praise, that they're getting, they don't really deserve it. Or people who are praising them don't really mean it. So this is the opposite. Here, we do the opposite, which is when we see people, especially when we see others suffering, when we see others having a hard time, when we see others under the power of suffering, under the power of the causes of suffering, we respond with a heart that says, how can I take that away? How can I take that upon myself? How can I be the one who experienced this so that they don't have to experience this? As the Lojong in 8 verses say, may I take on all loss and offer victory to others. So this is like the opposite of what we habitually do. What we habitually do is, I want to win. I want to win. In some ways, you can say, from a evolutionary, biological evolutionary standpoint, you can say, well, that is what ensured that the human species has existed to this day, is based on this, sense of self-preservation. I want to win. I want to win. Sure, from that perspective, you can say that's, ensures that you have been around. But often, if we're honest about it, we will say, given that genetic coding, you can say, for self-preservation, what we're doing most of the time is more than that. We let that basic instinct for self-preservation go further than just self-preservation, so that in so many other areas, we directly or indirectly, we step on others, in fact, and then I want to win, and I will give loss to others. But here in the Lojong, 8 verses Lojong, not 8 point, Lojong in 8 verses. One of the verses says, may I take on all loss and offer victory to them. So if we put this in the context of like the 8 worldly concerns, so in fact then we are saying, may I take on this column, which is loss, infamy, blame, and pain. May I take this from others. And may others have this other column, pleasure, gain, praise, and pleasure, gain, praise, and fame from this column. Of course, normally we say, what we need to do is to not be moved by the 8 winds. But now, in this context of exchanging self with other, this is how we exchange. We say, let me take on this column and let me give away this column. I can say this is not something, that any of us would do automatically. This is so counter to how we normally operate. It's also important to point out that, when we say, like when we do this, we train in this way to exchange self. And concretely, it means, to develop the ability and the willingness to take, in the context of the 8 worldly concerns, to take the column that we normally don't want to take, and to give the column that we normally want, right? That it's important that we do this based on understanding, not based on like some sort of kind of egotistical, really, attitude of like, oh, I need to do this. I have to be a good bodhisattva. Then it's about I, right? And then we kind of take, but we take it in a way with no understanding. Then that kind of taking, slowly, regret and resentment will grow. For example, if someone, if we like without understanding, we say, oh yes, I will take on that person's, on behalf of that person, I will take their blame. I will take their bad name. But if you do it without understanding, it will backfire. So be careful. In other words, don't practice what is sometimes called idiot compassion. It is also what Kyoba Rinpoche says, don't practice seeming compassion when in fact it's a form of ego grasping. So you might say, so what is practicing with understanding? What kind of understanding? Well, understanding the reasons for exchanging self with other, understanding the advantages that can be gained from exchanging self with others, and ultimately understanding the illusory nature of experiences. So the more we understand the illusory, understand as in deeply, not just intellectual, heart understanding, the more we understand on the heart level the nature of illusory experiences, then those of us who have the power of that understanding have the capacity of taking what is normally harmful, what is normally painful. Lacking that understanding, of course, if you take, it could harm. And it could be the kind of harm that will derail you from the Bodhisattva path. So also need to be careful and skillful. Don't practice idiot compassion. Maybe even more important than that, don't practice idiot heroism. Macho idiot. A guy thing, especially. Don't do that. So another line from the Lojong in 8 verses says, and secretly take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. So this is also about this exchanging self and other. Wei Ting, did you catch that last part, the secretly?
Sorry, I was dropped off.
Yeah.
From the line.
Yeah.
So I just heard secretly take upon myself.
Yeah. So I said there's another line from the 8 verses mind training that says, and secretly take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. My mother's harm and suffering. So here the mother is referring to sentient beings. So that's part of the understanding. If we can recognize that sentient beings are our mothers, then when we take their suffering, it's a different kind of taking, right? Then on top of that, here this line that says secretly take upon myself. By the way, a footnote, there are slightly different words used in the different original Tibetan. One says respectfully take, another one says secretly take. If we take the secretly take, there is some, I think, important point being made there about secretly take the suffering of my mothers. Secretly there is talking about don't make a big deal. Secondly, don't let people know you are practicing this, because this is also will prevent people from taking advantage of you. So secretly. So now let's read 114 to 120. Just as hands and other limbs are thought of as the members of a body, can we likewise not consider others as the limbs and members of a living whole? Just as in connection with this form, which is devoid of self, nonetheless my sense of I arose through strong habituation, then why should I not have the thought of I through habit in relation to another? Thus, when I work for others' sake, there will be no sense of boasting self-congratulation. It is just as when I feed myself. I don't expect to be rewarded. Therefore, just as I defend myself from even slight disparagement, likewise for beings I shall now grow used to have a mind protective and compassionate. This is why the Lord Avalokita, out of great compassion, blessed his name, that those caught in the midst of multitudes might be released and freed from every fear. And so we should be undeterred by hardships, far through the influence of use and habit. People even come to grieve for those whose very names struck terror in their hearts. Those desiring speedily to be a refuge for themselves and others should make the interchange of I and other, and thus embrace a sacred mystery. So the very last line of this section, and thus embrace a sacred mystery. Now, I don't have here immediately the original Sanskrit or even the translated Tibetan, so I don't know exactly how literal the translation is, but this expression, to embrace, I'm sure, it's not the equivalent in Tibetan or Sanskrit, like to embrace, but the idea is, of course, to happily welcome and this sacred mystery. So, in a way, this is a mystery. So there's something magical about this. How is it magical? Because normally, to take on the pain of others is painful, is harmful, and to give away our happiness, to give away our privilege, that's harmful, But here it says, if we know how to do this exchange of self with other, what has up to this point being a source of pain and frustration can turn into a source of true happiness for self and other. So this is a mystery. So in a way, I think we should not overthink this. Sometimes in the Tibetan scholastic tradition, they want to make everything very clear. Then they provide arguments, that they say, no, this is very logical. I don't think we need to go in that direction. I think here we can appreciate that this is a sacred mystery. And they approach it with heart, with trust. I think this is helpful in my personal opinion. So then coming back to 114, right? So here basically Shantideva offers this image, like just as our hands, our limbs, when our foot get injured, our hand is just as concerned, so to say, just as our finger get injured, our left toe, is just as concerned. So he says, now extend this body to others, to include others' body as part of this single body. This word body can also be used in the sense of essence. So see that all sentient beings have the same essence, that we're connected to each other by the same essence. Now, footnote again, don't take this essence too far and turn it into something like, oh, there is only one soul and we are all part of one soul. This is not in the Buddhist tradition. We don't talk so much about this, we are all one soul. Here, Shantideva is simply appealing to kind of this emotional capacity to feel and experience the suffering of others, so that, like I said before, so that we can at least begin to do something very helpful, very basic, which is every time we find ourselves in conflict with others, whether openly in conflict or just ourselves secretly not happy with someone else, we have the capacity to remember, what about their suffering? What about their happiness? Fortunately, most of us don't have literal enemies, we don't have literal enemies that we are in conflict with. Most of us in our situation, how we practice this is because most of us, even though we don't have enemies, literal enemies, but most of us, have been disappointed with our partner, our ex-partners. We have been disappointed with our kids. We have been disappointed with our parents. We have been angry with our neighbors. We have been unsatisfied with our employers or employees. So with regards to all of that, we should remember to insert this question, this consideration. What about their suffering? What about their happiness? In this way, the essence is talking about, on the essence level, I'm always operating on, what about my suffering? What about my happiness? Now expand that so that this definition of my, I, is not so narrowly defined and limited to just this body and mind, but extend it to others. So, in terms of doing this, exchanging self and other, like the practice of metta, right? Like the practice of, I think many of you are familiar with the practice of Tonglen. We should begin first with those whom we have a natural fondness towards, that we naturally already like, we are fond of. Then we should begin by developing the ability to take their suffering, to be in their shoes, so to say. So as I say, for most of us right now, this practice of exchanging self and other it's a thought experiment. It begins as a thought experiment. Then it can develop into a heartfelt willingness. And in terms of literally substituting, is something that maybe we cannot do right now, but we want to develop the ability. So that last piece, of special chocolate, you can have it instead of me, You live with people, other people, then in the morning, like that last, pour of milk, because somebody forgot to buy milk, you're able to say, yes, you can have it, I will drink black coffee this morning. And basically, as I was saying, then also do it with that phrase, yours is mine and mine is mine. Yeah? Meaning your suffering, your unhappiness, your dissatisfaction, that's mine. So I feel for you. I understand, mine. But my suffering, it's just mine. Don't spread that around to others. Don't expect others to come take that away, and think, oh, well, I took yours last time. You should take mine now. So 115 is based on the same appeal, based on the same idea. So in 115, he says, just as, with regards to this form, this body, which is fundamentally has no owner, has no self. But nonetheless, meaning like this is talking about, when this started, that there is no I. Biologically, substances, these reproductive substances that come from mother and father came together, and then the sense of I developed through strong habituation, it says here. Then he says, so why can't I? Why shouldn't I? Don't think you cannot develop this identifying with others. You can, he says. Then 116 says, and so when I begin to work like this, when I begin to operate like this, then also there is no sense, there's no place for thinking, oh, I'm so great. Oh, I'm so noble. Oh, I'm such a great Bodhisattva. It says, no, because it's just like when you feed yourself, when you feed yourself, the feeling of being full itself is enough. So same thing, when you can relate to other people's suffering, when you can more naturally consider other people's happiness, wanting them to have happiness, wanting them to be free from suffering, just the fact of seeing that happening for them, that's enough reward. Don't seek for more reward than that. Likewise, in negative situations, in unwanted situations, which is 117, So in the same way, just as I defend myself, even against the slightest, anyone trying to say something bad about us, likewise in the same way, let me, he says, develop this protectiveness and compassionate mind towards others. Now remember, this is important to say, Shantideva is not encouraging you to turn on the news and sit and worry. Oh, the world is so wrong. Oh, there are so many bad things happening. Oh, I want to free all the beings from suffering. Oh, so bad, so bad. That is not skillful. He's not teaching you to worry about things like this. Shantideva did not live at a time, where there is like 24-hour news cycles, and every single problem in the world, in every corner, you can just search and find, and getting stressed over, and getting, again, egotistically feeding your Messiah complex. In English, we have this saying, feeding your "I need to save the world" complex. So Shantideva, in a way, like, let's practice Shantideva by beginning with thinking in terms of how about 10-meter radius? Most of us can see, within 10 meters. Can smell even maybe within 10 meters. Can hear about 10 meters. So if we can extend our sense of self and care and concern wherever we are within a 10-meter radius, that is good. We can already change some things there. Likewise, like some of you are familiar with like Vajrayana practice of like saying, oh, you should visualize this world as a mandala, as a pure land, Sometimes when it's spoken of in such big terms, this world, this universe is a pure land, is a divine palace, it kind of loses its meaning, you know. Again, if we can just think, within a radius of 10 meters, wherever I am, it's a pure land. It's a divine palace. Within 10-meter radius, all the beings in there are emanations of my own nature of mind. So good or bad, they are my emanations. Just 10 meters, you know. Start there. So I sometimes joke, I say, you know, you cannot save the world, you know, if you cannot even do your own dishes and leave a whole pile of mess in your kitchen. So start by, you know, doing your dishes promptly and joyfully. Doing your housework promptly, joyfully. See it as an offering to the other people that live in your same space. And you say, well, I live alone. Well, see it as an offering to the other parts of you. The happy and joyful you that is cleaning can be cleaning and taking care of things for the future unhappy and depressed you that might turn up. Uh, 118 says, this is why the Lord Avalokita, out of great compassion, bless his name, that those caught in the midst of multitudes might be released and freed from every fear. So here Shantideva is referring to Avalokiteshvara, Kuan Yin, or Genesi. And it says, see, it says in the sutras, you know, this is the meaning of he blessed his name. So Avalokiteshvara made this vow and said, in the future, when I have achieved the result of Buddhahood, whoever calls my name, thinks of my name, they will be free, released from any and all fears. So this is found in the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra has one chapter where it is about the compassionate vows and activities of Avalokiteshvara. So this is what this is referring to. So Shantideva is saying, you know, may we become like that. May our name become like that. Become powerful like Avalokiteshvara's name. And so in 119 he says, and so in the same way, we should not be deterred by hardships, but through the influence of habit, of using, of operating in this way, may we, even feel compassion, feel suffering for those people whom previously we fear. Now, instead of fear, we have genuine care and compassion for them. May we become like this, he says. So Avalokiteshvara's ability, that Avalokiteshvara's name has that power, is not simply just Avalokiteshvara saying, I want it to be like that, and therefore it will be like that. No, it's like, he says, let me work on perfecting myself. Let me work on purifying all the afflictive emotions, all the mental defilements, all the karmic debt and negativity, so that even my name will have the power to remove fear from those who remember my name. So likewise, for us, it's not enough to say, may I be of such help and such good to others. But in order for me to actually be like that, then now, no matter the kind of hardship I need to go through to achieve that state, I will not give up so easily. And 120, Shantideva says, and you want to be like Avalokiteshvara? You want to be like that? Then, he says, those desiring speedily to be a refuge for themselves and others. Those of us who want to quickly, swiftly, be a refuge not just for ourselves, be reliable not just for ourselves, but be reliable. That's part of what refuge is. Be reliable not just for ourselves, but also for others. Then, he says, if you really want that, then you should practice this exchanging of self and other. And then he calls this embracing a sacred mystery. Being a refuge for ourselves and for others means being reliable. Again, we have to start where we are. We have to start in a way that can develop this reliability. We need to be able to count on ourselves. So, need to develop toughness, inner toughness, need to turn up when we most need ourselves to turn up, and need to turn up for others. Many of us, have all kinds of feelings of, oh, I want to help others. Oh, I want to be good for others. Oh, I want to help. Oh, I want to help. But we have not developed reliability. So then when the moment comes, we get distracted. Oh, no, I have to do this. Oh, no, I have to do that. Oh, no, I'm not available. No, I'm this. No, I'm that. Then we're not reliable for ourselves and we're not reliable for others. Then how can we ever become a refuge for ourselves or a refuge for others? Not possible. So first of all, turn up. Turn up for life. As they say, this is not a dress rehearsal. Turn up for life. First and foremost, turn up yourself. Be reliable for yourself. Then as you develop that, you can begin to, hand in hand, also develop being reliable for others. Really, it's not enough to just say, oh, yeah, I want to help. Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do that, this, that, this, that. This is part of that sucking out of your energy. And then being exhausted at the end of the day, and you have not turned up for yourself, you have not turned up for others. Right? Instead, we have just let the whole day be wasted on the distractions of samsara. Confused existence. Being distracted left, right, up, down. At the end of the day, you are exhausted and nothing has happened except for creating more distraction, more being dragged around. We get dragged around by, oh, this person did not smile at me, this person did not do this, did not do that, or I don't feel like it, or I have this, I have that. You are all over the place, but you are nowhere. And then we think, oh, for all mother sentient beings, all universe, all everywhere and everywhere, but nowhere, except being caught up in the distractions of confused existence. Samsara, confused existence. So Shantideva wants us, to train to be reliable for ourselves. So this is train to be reliable for yourself, grounded in a desire to be reliable for all others. Start right where you are. Start within the 10 meters radius of where you are. Turn up for your dirty dishes. Turn up for your dirty laundry. Swiftly, joyfully. Don't drag around. So as the regular year calendar comes to an end, and entering the new year, we have new year resolutions, this and that. Start deciding now, Yeah, so anyway, today we will stop here. Thank you so much. I have to get ready and turn up at a different place swiftly and joyfully. So I wish also, wherever you are, in the different part of the world, that you too can turn up swiftly and joyfully. First, turn up for yourself, but turn up for yourself, grounded with an understanding that the more you're able to turn up for yourself and be reliable for yourself, then you develop the capacity to turn up for others and to be reliable for others. So I want to thank, in this context, Waiting, Claudia, and Antonio for turning up to be interpreting, to be translating class after class after class. I want to thank all of you for turning up for these teachings. So that I won't appear to be so self-absorbed that I'm just talking to myself and hearing my own voice. And especially those of you who have been also to recognize that those of you who have been able to, for whatever degree of our class, turn on your video, because I said this is good, helpful for me to not just stare into space, but to be able to see you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for turning up. Changju Semcho Rinpoche Ma Ge Pa Nam Ge Gu Che Ge Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Ya Go Ne Gong Du Pe War Sho. Okay. Ta-ta, everyone.
Gracias.
Gracias, Dr. Lai.
Gracias.
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 Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Preciosa.
Azul
Real. Es como un azul real.
Esto
Gracias.
es la luz que cae.
Gracias por las enseñanzas, Dorje Lopon.